Listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not comfort, it's not motivation for the weak, and it's not a polite reminder. This is a wake-up call for warriors, for people who know deep down they were not designed to live trapped, broke, stressed, and begging life for permission. Here's the hook. Debt is not just a number. Debt is a cage. And most people spend their entire lives decorating their cage instead of breaking it. The world has conditioned you to accept chains, credit cards, loans, monthly payments, interest rates, and they call it normal life. But nothing about being trapped is normal. Nothing about waking up every morning owing somebody else is normal. And nothing about losing your freedom piece by piece is normal. Debt is modern slavery. And the truth is harsh. Some people stay chained because it's easier than fighting their way out, but not you, not anymore. There comes a moment where a man or a woman looks at their bank balance, their bills, their future, and realizes something powerful. This is not the life I'm meant to live. And that realization is the spark that destroys the entire prison. Because the second you decide you're done being owned by debt is the second you start building real freedom. You escape the trap, not by wishing, not by complaining, not by blaming the world, but by becoming disciplined, aggressive, and radically focused. Cut the useless expenses, increase your income, learn skills that print money, replace excuses with execution. People say, it's hard. Of course it's hard. Freedom is earned, not gifted. But here's the good news. Once you start rising, once you gain momentum, once you see debt shrinking instead of growing, something incredible happens. You reclaim your confidence, your power, your life. You realize you are not meant to survive. You're meant to dominate. You understand that debt was never the enemy. Your comfort was. You start making moves that the old you would be terrified of because now you know who you are, a person who refuses to be owned by a system built to keep you small. And when you finally break through, when the day comes where you owe nothing, when your money is yours, when your time is yours, when your mind is yours, that is freedom. Not the freedom they talk about in motivational quotes, real freedom, the kind of freedom that allows you to build, create, travel, earn, and live life on your terms. Most people sleepwalk through life accepting debt as if it's a normal, harmless part of adulthood, but that belief is exactly what keeps them trapped for decades. The system trains you from a young age to believe that loans, credit cards, and monthly payments are just a regular responsibility. And because everyone around you follows the same script, you never question it. But here's the hook. The moment you accept debt as normal, you automatically accept a life beneath your true potential. You hand over your freedom, your choices, and your future without even realizing it. Debt is not financial, it's psychological. It convinces you to play small, to think small, and to move cautiously instead of boldly. And the craziest part, people decorate their prison instead of trying to escape it. They buy the latest phone on installments, upgrade their lifestyle with money they haven't earned, and convince themselves they're living well when in reality they're sinking deeper into invisible chains. The world benefits from you being trapped. Governments benefit when you're dependent. Banks benefit when you're scared. Corporations benefit when you're desperate enough to work endlessly for a paycheck just to stay afloat. The entire system is designed to keep you running like a hamster on a wheel, moving fast but going nowhere. That's why breaking free starts with rejecting the idea that debt is a normal part of life. It's not. It's a strategy used to keep you compliant. And here's the hook that punches you in the chest. The people who control the world don't live in debt. They make sure you do. Debt is the leash they wrap around your neck. So every time you try to run, it tightens. Once you understand this, everything changes. Suddenly buying something on credit doesn't feel exciting. It feels like surrender. Swiping your card doesn't feel powerful. It feels like giving control away. You start questioning every financial decision, not because you're scared, but because you're awake now. You can finally see the trap. Debt is a slow, silent thief that steals your energy, your opportunities, your confidence, and your ability to take risks. And if you stay asleep, it will rob you of a life you could have lived. But the moment you decide you're done accepting society's definition of normal, you become dangerous. You stop caring about fitting in. You stop buying things to impress people who don't matter. You stop living for instant gratification and start living for long-term power. That's the mindset shift that separates the trapped from the free. Rejecting debt is not just a financial choice, it's an identity shift. You stop being a follower. You stop being controlled. You start operating like someone who knows their value, someone who refuses to live life on their knees. And the hook that snaps people awake, being debt-free isn't about money. It's about reclaiming the ability to shape your own destiny. Because when you owe nothing, nobody can dictate your moves. You can walk away from toxic workplaces. You can invest in your dreams. You can relocate, reinvent, rebuild, and rise without asking permission. People who accept debt as normal never break this cycle, but the ones who reject it rewrite their lives entirely. They're the ones who build wealth, confidence, and power. They're the ones who sleep peacefully at night, knowing no one owns a single piece of them. They're the ones who wake up excited instead of anxious. And it all begins with one simple, radical decision: refusing to accept the chains everyone else calls normal. Most people never escape the debt trap because they never develop the courage to face their financial reality with complete honesty. They hide from numbers, avoid bank statements, and pretend the situation isn't as bad as it feels. But here's the hook: you cannot defeat what you refuse to confront. Freedom begins the moment you stop lying to yourself about where you stand. Self-honesty isn't emotional, it's strategic. It's the brutal clarity that strips away illusions and forces you to see exactly what you've created, exactly what it's costing you, and exactly what needs to change. When you finally sit down, open your accounts, and face every debt, every expense, every financial leak without excuses, something powerful happens. The fear loses its grip, because fear thrives in shadows, but confidence grows in clarity. People stay stuck because they protect their comfort more than their future. They'd rather cling to a soft lie than face a hard truth. They convince themselves that it's not that bad, that everyone is in debt, that things will get better on their own. But deep down, they know nothing changes without confrontation. The truth might sting, but it also wakes you up. And here's where the shift happens. Once you know your exact situation, you can finally take ownership. You stop feeling like a victim and start thinking like a strategist. You begin analyzing your habits, your spending patterns, your priorities. You recognize where you've been irresponsible, where you've been impulsive, and where you've been sabotaging your own progress. It's not about guilt. It's about gaining power, because awareness is the first step to control, and control is the first step to freedom. Brutal self-honesty forces you to ask questions most people never ask themselves. Why am I buying things I can't afford? Why am I trying to impress people who don't care about me? Why am I living beyond my means? Why am I avoiding financial discipline? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the doorway to transformation. The hook that changes everything. Your current situation is not your enemy. Your denial is. Once you stop defending the habits that created the problem, you can start building the habits that will solve it. And that shift in mindset is more valuable than any financial advice in the world. When you embrace self-honesty, you stop hiding behind excuses. You stop blaming the economy, your upbringing, your salary, or your luck. You realize that while you may not have caused every challenge you face, you are fully responsible for what you do next. Responsibility is empowering. It means the power is in your hands, not in fate or chance. It means you can change the direction of your life whenever you choose. And the moment you accept full responsibility, you gain access to something most people never experience: inner freedom. You no longer feel trapped by circumstances because you understand that you control your reaction, your decisions, and your trajectory. This level of self-honesty also exposes a gap between who you are and who you want to be. It forces you to acknowledge the version of yourself you've been neglecting: the disciplined version, the focused version, the fearless version, the version that doesn't run from problems but dismantles them one by one, the version that doesn't chase comfort but chases mastery. And this realization becomes a powerful hook because it reveals a truth most people are terrified to accept. Your best life has been waiting on you to stop lying to yourself. When you finally face your financial reality without sugarcoating or softness, you unlock the clarity needed to create real change. You see exactly what must be cut, what must be improved, and what must be built. You develop a plan that's not based on hope, but on strategy. And from that point forward, every decision becomes deliberate, every action becomes meaningful, and every day becomes a step toward freedom. That is the power of brutal self-honesty. It doesn't just open your eyes, it opens the door to a life you didn't even realize you were capable of living. Discipline is the invisible line that separates those who escape the debt trap from those who stay chained to it for life. People love the idea of being debt-free, but they hate the daily habits required to achieve it. They want freedom without sacrifice, progress without discomfort, results without repetition. But here's the hook. Discipline is the weapon that destroys every financial chain wrapped around your life. Without it, debt will own you forever. With it, you become unstoppable. Discipline isn't glamorous, it isn't loud, and it isn't easy, but it is the single most powerful force that transforms chaos into control. Most people fail because they rely on motivation. They wait to feel ready before they take action. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. Motivation is emotional, temporary, inconsistent. Discipline is unwavering. It doesn't care how you feel. It only cares that you execute. When you're disciplined, you don't spend money because you're bored. You don't buy things because you're stressed. You don't chase temporary pleasure at the expense of your long-term freedom. Discipline teaches you something critical. Every dollar you waste is a vote against the life you want. And the moment that truth sinks in, everything changes. The reason people fall deeper into debt is not because they're incapable, but because they lack control. They react to impulses instead of managing them. They choose convenience over strategy. They let emotions dictate decisions that should be based on logic. Discipline flips this completely. It puts you back in the driver's seat. When you master discipline, you stop being a slave to your desires and start becoming a master of your destiny. You make decisions with purpose, not weakness. You spend intentionally, not blindly. You begin treating money like a tool, not a toy that wakes people up. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom in disguise. The more disciplined you become, the more options you gain. The more consistent your habits, the faster your life transforms. The sacrifices you make today create the opportunities you'll enjoy tomorrow. That's why disciplined people rise while others stay stuck. They do the things most people avoid. They say no when others say yes. They choose long-term power over short-term pleasure. And those choices build a foundation strong enough to destroy every financial limitation in their path. People underestimate how powerful disciplined financial habits truly are. Preparing a budget, tracking expenses, eliminating unnecessary spending, and sticking to a strict financial plan. These are not small actions. They are declarations of war against the life that once controlled you. They are proof that you're done living paycheck to paycheck. They show that you've stopped surrendering your future to comfort and started reclaiming it with intention. And the moment discipline becomes your default behavior, debt begins to shrink. Opportunities begin to appear. Confidence begins to grow. Everything starts aligning with the life you actually want. People never see coming. Discipline creates identity. When you stay consistent long enough, you stop forcing yourself to act disciplined. You become someone who naturally makes disciplined choices. You don't fight temptation, you outgrow it. You don't fear hard work, you expect it. You don't wait for motivation, you wake up already committed. This identity shift is what makes the difference between temporary progress and permanent transformation. Once discipline becomes part of who you are, escaping debt isn't just possible. It becomes inevitable. Discipline is the silent force behind every powerful person. It's the reason some people break generational cycles while others continue repeating them. It's the reason some rise and others remain stuck in the same patterns year after year. If you want financial freedom, personal freedom, and emotional freedom, discipline is the price you pay. And here's the final hook. The cost of discipline is always cheaper than the cost of regret. You either choose the pain of discipline now or the pain of being trapped forever. The decision is yours, and discipline is the key that unlocks everything you're chasing. Most people think escaping debt is only about cutting costs and shrinking their lifestyle, but that mindset is exactly what keeps them stuck. You can only cut so much before you hit a limit, but your ability to earn has no ceiling. And here's the hook. You don't escape the debt trap by making your life smaller. You escape it by becoming someone bigger. The world rewards creators, problem solvers, skilled individuals, and people who bring value. If you want true financial freedom, you must upgrade your capabilities, expand your opportunities, and build income streams that elevate you beyond survival mode. The reason most people remain trapped is because their income is tied to a single source. One job, one paycheck, one employer. That's not stability, that's vulnerability. The moment that income stops, your life collapses. And yet people pour all their energy into defending this fragile system instead of building something stronger. Real power comes from having multiple ways to generate money. When you rely on only one source, you're not living, you're gambling, and the odds are not in your favor. That's why the most successful individuals focus not on saving pennies, but on creating new streams of wealth. They understand that you rise by increasing your value, not by shrinking your decisions. Learning new skills is the foundation of income growth. Every skill you add unlocks a new level of opportunity. High-income skills, digital marketing, sales, copywriting, trading, design, coaching, coding, public speaking. These are tools that can change your trajectory forever. The hook that flips your mindset. Every skill you learn becomes a weapon that fights your way out of the financial cage. The more weapons you have, the more battles you win. And the more battles you win, the faster you break free. People say they don't have time to learn, but they somehow have time for scrolling, entertainment, gossip, and distractions that bring zero return. The truth is simple. You either spend time building your future or waste time staying exactly where you are. Every hour you invest in learning a skill is an hour that compounds into opportunity. Every day you commit to producing instead of consuming is a day that moves you closer to the life you want. And once you see the results, you'll realize that chasing comfort was the real burden. Growth is the real freedom. Your earning potential is not fixed. It expands with discipline, courage, and the willingness to step beyond your current identity. When you start thinking like someone who deserves more, you start acting like someone who earns more. You approach work differently. You seek opportunities others overlook. You stop waiting for permission and start creating your own path. Here's the hook that changes everything. Money flows to those who solve problems, not to those who avoid them. If you want to increase your income, become a person who brings solutions, results, and value. That's how the world rewards you. Increasing your income doesn't always mean starting a business overnight. It means becoming useful, reliable, sharp, and skilled. It means turning your free time into productive time. It means putting yourself in rooms where opportunities exist. It means understanding that your mind is your greatest asset and your excuses are your greatest liability. Once you start investing in yourself, every area of your life improves. Confidence rises, options expand, debt becomes temporary instead of eternal. People who grow their income are the ones who change their family legacy. They're the ones who stop generational struggle. They're the ones who break out of the pattern of barely getting by. They stop waiting for a miracle and start becoming the miracle. Their life changes not because luck arrived, but because they developed themselves into someone too valuable to remain broke. When you commit to increasing your income, you shift from scarcity to abundance. You transform from someone who reacts to life into someone who designs it, and that transformation is the key. Because once you raise your earning power, once you become the person capable of building wealth, escaping debt is no longer a dream. It becomes the natural outcome of who you've become. Most people don't realize that the biggest threat to their financial freedom isn't their income, their circumstances, or even their debt itself. It's the endless stream of distractions that pull them away from their goals. Distraction is a silent killer. It steals your focus, drains your energy, and keeps you locked inside the same cycles you claim you want to escape. And here's the hook. Debt doesn't keep you trapped. Your distractions do. Every time you choose entertainment over execution, comfort over discipline, or noise over clarity, you're choosing to remain exactly where you are. You're feeding the very lifestyle that keeps you broke, stressed, and dependent. People underestimate the power of environment. They surround themselves with friends who waste time, conversations that lead nowhere, and habits that sabotage their growth. They don't realize that every distraction is a chain disguised as pleasure. A night out here, a pointless conversation there, hours of scrolling, binge watching, gossip, drama, all of it adds up. Not just in time wasted, but in opportunities missed, skills not learned, income not earned. The world is filled with traps designed to keep you unfocused. Social media companies want your attention. Brands want your impulses. People want your time. But none of them want your freedom. That's why reclaiming your life begins with eliminating the noise. When you decide you're serious about escaping debt, you must become ruthless about what you allow into your world. You have to cut out the habits that drain you mentally and financially. You have to stop giving time to people who add no value to your growth. You have to stop indulging in patterns that keep you stagnant. And here's the hook that stings. Every distraction you tolerate is a debt you owe to your future self. The more distractions you feed, the more powerless and stuck you become. The more discipline you practice, the more unstoppable you become. The truth is, most people drown not because the ocean is too deep, but because they keep swimming toward the wrong things. They chase comfort, validation, and instant satisfaction instead of long-term freedom. They prioritize pleasure over purpose, forgetting that comfort is the enemy of progress. Eliminating distractions forces you to confront your priorities. It exposes what truly matters. It reveals how much potential you've been wasting without even noticing. And once you see it clearly, you can't go back to living blindly. When you remove distractions, you create space for clarity, for creativity, for focus. You finally have the mental energy to think strategically, to make smarter decisions, to analyze your finances, to plan your escape from debt. You start noticing opportunities you used to overlook. You start valuing your time like the rare currency it is. You begin building habits that compound into power. And the hook that transforms everything, your focus is your most valuable asset. And most people give it away for free. Eliminating distractions doesn't mean living a boring life. It means living an intentional life. It means choosing activities that move you forward instead of holding you back. It means surrounding yourself with people who inspire you instead of drain you. It means building an environment where success becomes your default, not your dream. When you protect your focus, your productivity skyrockets. Your income grows, your debt shrinks, your confidence strengthens, you feel in control again. The people who escape debt are not always the smartest or the most educated. They are the most focused. They understand that every minute wasted is a step backward. They protect their attention like their life depends on it, because it does. They know distractions are designed to keep them average, and they refuse to be average. They build routines that keep them grounded, systems that keep them disciplined, and boundaries that keep them powerful. You cannot rise while carrying the weight of distractions. You cannot win while giving your time to things that weaken you. You cannot claim freedom while living like someone who doesn't value their own potential. Cutting out distractions is not just a productivity tactic. It is a declaration that you are done living on autopilot, that you are done letting the world control your focus, that you are ready to step into a higher version of yourself. And once that shift happens, escaping debt isn't just possible. It becomes inevitable. Freedom is not something you stumble into at the end of your life. It is something you earn day by day through the decisions you make, the habits you build, and the discipline you practice. Most people think freedom is a moment, a milestone, or a miracle waiting to happen. They imagine that one big break, one lucky opportunity, one sudden change will transform everything. But here's the hook. Freedom is never a single event. It's a daily commitment. You build it piece by piece, choice by choice, with relentless consistency. And the painful truth is that most people never experience real freedom because they only work on their goals when they feel like it, while their problems work on them every day without fail. The reason debt feels overwhelming is because it grows daily, while most people only take action occasionally. Interest doesn't take weekends off. Bills don't care about your mood. Responsibilities don't pause just because you're tired. But when you adopt the mindset that freedom is earned daily, you match the intensity of your challenges. You stop fighting life with random bursts of effort and start attacking your goals with steady, unstoppable momentum. And that's where transformation begins. Because the hook nobody expects is this: consistency beats intensity every single time. A small step taken every day is more powerful than a massive burst of effort taken once in a while. When you understand that freedom depends on your daily actions, your entire identity shifts. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop relying on luck. You start waking up with purpose. You start treating every day like a brick, a building block of the life you want. And each action, no matter how small, becomes proof that you are moving forward. When you make a payment on your debt, track your expenses, stick to your budget, say no to unnecessary purchases, or work an extra hour to increase your income, you're not just completing tasks, you're casting votes for the person you are becoming. This mindset is powerful because it removes excuses. You don't need perfect circumstances to make progress. You just need to show up. Even on days when you feel tired, overwhelmed, or uninspired, you still move forward. And here's the hook. Discipline builds the freedom that motivation dreams about. People who rely on motivation build nothing permanent. People who rely on discipline build empires. Freedom becomes inevitable when consistency becomes non-negotiable. It's easy to underestimate the compound effect of daily effort because the results are not immediate. You won't see dramatic change in a week. You won't feel completely different after a few days of discipline. That's why so many people quit. They can't handle the silence before the success. But the ones who stay consistent understand something critical. Progress is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Your mindset strengthens before your finances do. Your habits transform before your lifestyle does. Your identity shifts before your results show up. And the people who stay committed long enough eventually experience a breakthrough that seems sudden, but was actually built through hundreds of small, invisible victories. When you treat freedom as a daily pursuit, you become unstoppable. You stop being controlled by impulse and start being guided by intention. You become someone who makes choices based on long-term impact, not temporary feelings. You learn to value consistency more than comfort, and slowly you begin to notice changes. Less stress, more confidence, shrinking debt, rising income, stronger discipline. The life that once felt impossible becomes the life you're actively building that brings everything together is simple yet powerful. The future you want is hidden inside the habits you practice today. Every day you stay consistent, you widen the gap between you and your old life. Every day you take action, you weaken the chains that once held you down. Every day you commit to the process, you move closer to the freedom you've always imagined. Real freedom isn't a gift. It isn't luck. It isn't magic. It's earned daily, deliberately, and with the kind of consistency most people aren't willing to maintain. But you are, and that's exactly why your freedom is not just possible, it's inevitable. So hear me clearly. Escaping the debt trap is not just about money. It's about reclaiming your identity. It's about proving to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances, tougher than your failures, and more powerful than the world ever expected you to be. The cage was real, but the key was always in your hands. Break the chains. Take back your freedom and never, ever let the world own you again.